Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're talking about something huge, the end of waiting. Seriously, we're right on the edge of a future where you stop using technology. You just say what you want, and poof, it happens. This is the story of how AI agents are getting rid of all that digital friction for good. All right, to really get this, we got to go back in time. Way back. Let's talk about a kind of weird obsession from one of the biggest names in tech. It's 1999. Jeff Bezos. You'd think he's worried about logistics, drones, all that stuff, right? Nope. He was worried about a 90-second delay. So you gotta ask, why? Why on earth was the world's most ambitious CEO freaking out about 90 seconds? Well, it was never really about the computer. It was about that dangerous little gap between having an idea and actually doing something about it. That 90 seconds? It's a graveyard. It's where all those brilliant ideas, those sudden aha moments, they just fizzle out. The inspiration is gone. And you know what? Bezos wasn't alone in this. Not by a long shot. Think about Steve Jobs, years later. When he showed off the iPad, that instant-on thing, that wasn't just some cool feature on a spec sheet. For him, it was the future. It was the whole philosophy for where computers needed to go. He got it. The goal was to make tech feel like it's part of your brain, not some clunky machine you're always waiting on.
Okay, so this whole obsession with speed, it's not just some billionaire quirk. It was actually a huge warning sign about a problem that affects every single one of us every single day, even if we don't notice it. It's like this invisible tax we're all paying. A tax on our focus, our time, and our sanity.
In this tax, it comes in three parts. First, you've got latency and friction. The waiting, the annoying extra clicks. But the real killer, the one that drains us, it's context switching. That's the mental whiplash you get from jumping between Slack, email, your browser, and 10 other apps just to do one simple thing.
And the cost of that whiplash? It's just staggering. Get this. Research shows it takes, on average, 23 minutes and 15 seconds to get back into a state of deep focus after just one interruption. Just one. I mean, think about that. Every single Slack ping, every email pop-up, it's costing you almost half an hour of real, productive time. And okay, when you add all those interruptions up over a day, a week, it's insane. The potential hit to productivity for knowledge workers can be as high as 80%. 80! We're basically spending our days just juggling apps, not actually doing the work we're meant to do. So here's the really crucial part. These things all feed on each other. It's a vicious cycle. An app is a little slow, that's the latency. So you get impatient and you switch to another task, right? That's the context switch. Bam, your focus is shattered. And by the time you circle back to what you were originally doing, you've paid that massive 23-minute focus tax. And it all started with just a tiny bit of friction.
Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the fix? Well, it's not just a slightly better app or a faster laptop. The solution is way bigger than that. It's a completely new way of thinking, a new architecture for how tech should work for us. This new engine for instant action is built on three main pillars. First, agentic AI. These are systems that don't just follow commands, they actively pursue goals on their own. Second, ambient computing. This is tech that just disappears into the background, always sensing your context. And third, integrated workflows. Think of this as the universal plumbing that connects everything, letting those AI agents work across all your different apps. So instead of you doing 20 steps, you just say, plan my tip to the conference, and the agent just does it, books the flight, blocks your calendar, arranges the Uber. That's the magic of these three things working together. And this chart, it really nails the massive shift in our relationship with technology. Right now, we're operators. We click the buttons, we type the commands. But in this new world, we become directors. We just set the goal. The system becomes proactive. It actually anticipates what we need. And here's the big one. The metric for success isn't user engagement anymore. How long can we keep you glued to the screen? It's cognitive overhead reduction. How much mental energy can we save you? So what's the end game here? It's to completely collapse that space between thought and action. The goal is that we'll no longer use AI in the way we use a hammer. We'll just think through it. It becomes less of a tool and more like an extension of our own mind, an invisible layer that just translates our intentions into reality.
Now, this massive tech shift isn't just about making our lives a little easier. It's actually creating an entirely new economy, one that's built on delivering results, not just selling you tools.
Okay, so for the last couple of decades, we've lived in the world of SaaS, right? Software as a service. You pay a monthly fee for access to a tool, like Salesforce or Photoshop. Well, we're now moving into the era of OaaS, outcomes as a service. Here, you don't pay for the tool. You pay for the guaranteed finished result. You're not the operator anymore. The AI is. And the value isn't in the cool features of the software, it's in the actual outcome it delivers, all on its own.
So what does this actually look like in the real world? Well, imagine a company that's basically just a bunch of AI agents. You give it a complex task, like, I need a full competitive analysis of the entire EV market. And instead of a team of analysts taking weeks, you get a beautiful, comprehensive report with data visualizations and key insights in minutes. That is outcomes as a service.
In this chart just shows you how wild the economic shift is. In a traditional service company, your biggest expense is people. Salaries, benefits, all that. But in one of these new AI-native businesses, the whole thing flips upside down. Human oversight becomes just a small piece of the pie. The lion's share of the cost, that's the AI infrastructure, the technology, the integrations. It completely inverts the old model.
Now, we're not talking about small potatoes here. The scale of this economic shift is just massive. According to PwC, this new model of AI-driven automation, it's expected to add something like $15.7 trillion to the global economy by 2030. That's a mind-boggling number.
Okay, but we have to be honest here. A world with zero friction isn't necessarily a perfect utopia. It's not a world without risk. And as we sprint towards this future, we absolutely have to stop and think about the really profound consequences for us, for humans. One of the big systemic risks has a pretty scary name: model collapse. Here's what it is. It's a dangerous feedback loop. It's what happens when AI models start training on data that was created by other AI models. You see the problem? Over time, they start to forget the messiness and richness of actual human reality. The internet becomes this hall of mirrors, and the AIs just get more and more bland, repetitive, and totally disconnected from what's real. And beyond the tech risk, there's a really deep human risk. What happens if we offload all of our hard thinking, our critical analysis, our problem solving to AI? Well, our brains are like any other muscle. If you stop using them, they get weaker. There's a real danger of cognitive atrophy, where our own ability to think critically just withers away from disuse. So this all leads to some incredibly difficult and frankly unanswered questions, right? Like, if an autonomous AI makes a huge mistake, loses a company millions of dollars or worse, who's responsible? Who do you blame? And how do we stop these things from just learning all of our existing human biases and amplifying them at a global scale? And in a world where technology is always on, always listening, what does privacy even mean anymore? Look, a truly frictionless world, it's not science fiction anymore. It's right around the corner. But the real challenge, the final boss, if you will, is making sure that as we gain all this amazing instant convenience, we don't accidentally trade away something essential about being human: our creativity, our ability to think for ourselves, and maybe, just maybe, the value that comes from the struggle itself.